Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. And in this video, I'm going to be rounding out the final questions from the 10/8/2025 live stream event. And oh, sorry, I seem to have that up. I don't know why I have that up. Let me remove that real quick and then we'll move into the questions here. So I just had left off with Butter Pecans question. So I'm going to go into 56. I've got 82 questions. So we're going to lightning round this. Let's do this. So just got Travis Bond, just got with a VSO for the first time, had claim denied in 2012. That said, I did not show up to the CMP. VSO submitted to try to reopen that claim. Best choice, supplemental claim. A supplemental claim and then do a 4138 saying that you intend to attend the exams. Just because, especially if you didn't have good cause the first time. Jason, what about kidney stones? How does the VA rate that? Unfortunately, the VA rates that under, I'm going to pause this for a second. And through the power of editing, we are back because I forgot the N word. So it's a huge word here. So I just had to look it up. Anyway, so there's two different ratings here. There's the standard rating, which you have to rate it under hydronephrosis, except, and now this is where the 38 CFR Part 4 gets specific, is if you have recurrent stone formation requiring invasive and non-invasive procedures, that can get you 30%. That's the only way that you can get 30% under this particular 7508. Other than that, you're rating it under 7509 for kidney stones. So occasional colic, attack of colic, not infected, not requiring a catheter drain. I mean, most of the time you'll see 10%, 0 or 10%. Frequent colic attacks, which just means symptomatic pain and whatnot, requiring catheters, 20. Anything above 10, we're starting to require actual use of interventions, right? Frequent, there's an infection here, kidney function impaired. That would be through like a GFR lab finding, would be how you would tell that the kidney function is impaired. And then we have severe rate as renal dysfunction, which means that you would just go to the normal rating scheduler for renal dysfunction and rate it that way. But yeah, that's kind of how that works. CH10. Can BVA assign extra scheduler ratings for narcolepsy? No. No, they cannot. No, they cannot, because the rater will determine how it's rated, and they can't tell the rater how it is rated. So unfortunately, the rater has to go by the epilepsy. The BVA cannot, because the BVA doesn't assign the ratings. The VA assigns the ratings, so they can't do that. Dark water fossils. I like that name. Have service connection for Terra and the firefighting foam exposure for my panvasculitis. 0%. Then a CMP 4 days later for it. Are they trying to find a rating? They might be. They might be either finding a secondary to it. They could be trying to validate the grant. So if you're actually going for a CMP, it's likely that they might have rated it under the wrong diagnostic code, and they need more evidence, like actual physical evidence, to see if you could rate higher. There's a lot of what ifs there. I don't want to go positive or negative with it. It could be negative, it could be positive, but definitely interesting. David Bright. I got treated for a varicocele that is service connected at 0%. I also have varicose veins, which are at the same time, but it wasn't noted in my records. Can I claim the varicose as secondary to the varicocele? I'm going to say you can claim anything the way that you want to, but right here, one of these is a testicular varicocele, and the other one is varicose veins, which I'm assuming is in the testicular area. I don't 100% personally know how those are connected to each other, like body system wise, because you have one of them that is a genitourinary, which is the varicocele, and then the other one is a cardiovascular body system. So anytime we have two different body systems that are kind of, you're saying that this body system caused this body system, that's going to require some evidence. So you're going to need to go science with that one and maybe get a doctor involved and see how those are kind of, connected together. I'm not seeing a very high outcome of like a 10% or anything like that. It's probably going to still be 0. Christopher Perry. Hi, Raider. Working on building a MUCME claim diagnosed with fibromyalgia and IBS. Am I able to file related presumptive to my diagnosis, such as headaches and hemorrhoids, without a diagnosis? Okay. Oof. Okay. So fibro and IBS are presumptive under the MUCME. Headaches require a medical opinion under the MUCME, because MUCMEs have presumptive side and they have a kind of, it can be presumptive side. Headaches fall under that. So you have to find, for your headaches to be granted, there can't be an established cause. And hemorrhoids are a structural issue. So hemorrhoids cannot be claimed under the MUCME. They can be claimed under TARA, but they cannot be claimed under MUCME, because MUCME has to be a medically unexplained condition. And hemorrhoids have an explanation. The doctor can come up with an explanation for it quite easily. Headaches, sometimes not so much. I hope that helped. Joseph, aloha Raider, tuning in from Hawaii. Well, hello, Hawaii. That's kind of cool. I wish I was in Hawaii. I submitted a FOIA request for a copy of my C-file on October 9, 2024. Was the day of submission, and it's only currently in step 2. I have no power or control over that. The government shutdown is just going to make it to where it's worse. So all of it gets backlogged, because FOIA requests are not critical infrastructure. They're not, I'm forgetting the words right now, but they're not veteran facing things. So they'll be furloughed. Everybody that's doing that should be furloughed, I should say, because I don't honestly know about it, but it's going to be longer, unfortunately. Stephen N., what if the VA overlooks your evidence and doesn't list your evidence in the rating decision letter? So lower rating, but you confirmed. Okay, so this is a common misconception, Steve. When a short form narrative is completed, the rater does not have to list all the evidence. They could list in the evidence section on your rating decision letter that they like cake. And per the M21, they've satisfied the criteria for listing something in the evidence section. It's not blank. So it's not a critical error. It's not even a non-critical error. There's no reason for them to correct it. Now, what should happen is authorization should go, wait a minute, you didn't include all the evidence on here. But authorization tends to pick their battles with the raters. They're not going to nitpick them about every single thing on there. So they don't, the bottom line up front is that the rater doesn't have to list all the evidence. Now, if you're concerned that not all the evidence was used in your rating decision, what you have to do is you have to go to a VSO, have them pull up your exam request, and see if all of your evidence was given to the examiner. If evidence that you submitted was not given to the examiner, then that's grounds for like a higher level review. That's grounds to show that not all the evidence was put before the examiner, so the claim was prematurely denied. The duty to assist to have all of your evidence put before the examiner was not completed. But them just simply not listing it all on the rating decision for the short form narrative, and you've seen this in some of my other videos where I've actually pulled up the short form narrative and showed you guys what it says. It explicitly says that the rater does not have to fully explain the rating decision, nor do they have to fully provide all the evidence. Just not required. I disagree with that, and I've put out a short to Doug Collins about it. I don't agree with it, but yeah. Char, does it lessen my chances of getting connected for migraines secondary to PTSD if I did not provide a migraine? No, it doesn't. I'm going to say something that's probably going to make people not like me, but your migraine log doesn't matter. Okay? It's all subjective anyway. The fact that you say you have migraines is just as probative as your migraine log. I'll be honest with you. The rater does not deal with your migraine log. The examiner does. So if you're a person that's pretty good at communication and you're able to convey and and meet the have the examiner kind of open up to you to where they find you to be a credible reporter, an accurate reporter, then they'll take what you say at face value. The migraine log itself doesn't do anything. Like there's no checkbox for did they provide a migraine log? No, it doesn't matter because once a month, migraines is the maximum frequency that we're dealing with. So, and your migraine log isn't certified. It's not a certified document. It's not like there's a third party that's certified. It's just you wrote it down saying that it happened, which is not any different than you saying that it happened. So don't freak out about the migraine log. Like, why do I like migraine logs? If I'm trying to prove a time period, like I had these migraines, I wrote this at this time, this is how long I've been documenting it. Cool. Maybe it can help with an earlier effective date if it's granted for Terra, because like stuff like that. Like I find migraine logs to be probative in that respect. But in just the terms of proving that you've had migraines and frequency, it's just additional subjective evidence. So always submit more evidence so people can't say you submitted less. Laz, can the RO give you copies of documents in your C file? Yes, they can. Will they? I don't know. It depends on who's at the counter. It depends on your RO. It depends on their own MOU, a memorandum of understanding, as to whether or not they give that stuff out. Some ROs do, some ROs don't. I've gotten my own personal stuff from the RO before I was an employee at the VBA. So it just depends. It's a crapshoot, to be honest with you. Reek, good evening. Do you know why the VA is sending me to a local VA medical center for a CMP exam? Already asked QTC to provide an independent medical opinion. They could be sending you for a tiebreaker. So it's not related to the BVA revamp. It could be the fact that somebody took issue, like maybe the exam that was sent to QTC was found to be insufficient and the examiner's not playing ball. They're not doing what the rater had requested. So like to resolve the insufficiency. So sometimes whenever we either have a resistant examiner who will not follow the rules and provide the evidence that we ask, we'll sometimes do a tiebreaker exam or send it to a third party. So what happens is that the rater will defer back to the VSR sometimes, or if they're savvy, they'll do the exams themselves. I always do the exams myself because I like the points. But if the rater's not savvy at ordering exams, like let's say they were never a VSR before, then they tend to defer back to have the VSRs do the exams. At which point in time, the VSR has to put in the veteran's zip code into the ERA program, and it'll dictate where the exam goes. So if the rater defers back and says, hey, look, I need you to do an exam through a different provider other than QTC because the examiner's not playing ball, then they'll put it in there and they'll just review whomever. They'll send it to wherever. So that's just one example of one of the things it could be. There could be like 10 different reasons why they did that. It's hard to tell. Sams, anyone have tips on getting my service treatment records? Service treatment? Yeah, I don't. I honestly don't. I mean, I think the community would probably have a better answer than I would on getting them yourself. Going to the RO is probably the best way after you filed a claim. I mean, just to try if it's not going to put you out. Okay, Starkey. I'm just going to go with Starkey because I'll just butcher the first part. Archive claims and decision letters before 2005. Should I include decision letters in my increase package? No, never. No, don't do that. There's no need for that. Like we have all that. Like there's no reason for you to include anything like that for, especially for an increase. It's not helpful at all. The only thing for an increase that you should include is current symptoms, buddy statements about current symptoms, treatment about current symptoms, everything current, because increases are only in the here and now. That's all we care about. Ken, if denied a condition for no diagnosis and you file a supplemental claim for the denied condition with evidence of a diagnosis, that's the dated before the rating decision, will you potentially be eligible for retro? Yes. And the part of this that matters, right? And I'll just do my stupid banner thing. Very important here. Very important in that this is the epitome of new and relevant evidence. Because if you can find evidence that's, you were denied because you were missing X, and if X is a current diagnosis and you have evidence showing that you had a medical diagnosis that was relevant at that time, then that will override the reason for denial. And yes, diagnosis has to do with, and I said this on the last video, but 38 CFR 2501 is the CFR that instructs the rater and the authorizer about how far back we can go with your effective date, even if it's continuously pursued. If there was no diagnosis during the original claim, then we can't go back to that claim. The earliest that you could be is the date of claim or intent to file for your current claim. But by you submitting that evidence showing that you had a diagnosis back during that time, it does in fact open up that original claim to where, if you're granted, you can go back to the intent to file ITF of that time. Or if you have like a special circumstance, like you're kind of, getting granted for Terra, then you can go back even earlier potentially. But yes, very, very important there. So that was a good question, Ken. JP4, can Meniere's be directly connected? Yes. Yes, it can. Meniere's, the ear condition, the peripheral vestibular condition, can be granted directly, yes. Or it can be granted for Terra also. Now, Meniere's is kind of a unique one. I will be doing a video about it, just how it's rated. It's kind of weird. Okay, my friend says he was a POW, but it was covered up politically. Have any advice on him getting the evidence, or does this sound outlandish? Okay. I'm going to say that nothing sounds outlandish to me because everyone has their truth. But the thing that he's going to have to prove is like, if he was to file for that, he would have to show that, number one, he deployed somewhere where somebody could have wanted to take him, right? Like during a period of time, Vietnam, Korean War, like whatever. Then there's easy ways to show this, right? Like, because if you don't show up for formation if you're a POW. So administratively, the military itself would have records of you being AWOL. Like, I had a buddy of mine. They had him down as AWOL for like 2 years. And he just actually got lost in a fob, like in Afghanistan. He just got part of a multi-nation fob, and they forgot they put him there. So he was in country for 2 years. They had him as AWOL for a year until he got like moved back to Germany, and because he got injured. And they're like, "You're AWOL," and the commanding officer of the fob was like, "He's been there the whole time. You guys put him there. What are you talking about?" So it's possible. Look, DC, there's a part of me that I'm not going to shame anybody because I don't know. Nobody knows. But why does he want to get evidence? Is it just that he wants to get evidence to file a claim for avitaminosis or something like that? Or I don't know. Anyway, Michael Davis. Hey Raider, what is the term you previously referenced as kind of an undo of a closed claim, where there is a window of when a closed claim can be it's a clear and unmistakable error. So and I did a video about this, about like if it's within a year, uh, reopening a denied claim within a year of its denial, you can use a higher level review to do that. But if it goes farther than a year, if it's been longer than a year from the date of its denial, then you can do a clear and unmistakable error. But keep in mind, clear and unmistakable errors are hard to win. There's a legal requirement. There's 3 separate prongs that you have to do. It's good to get an attorney to help you with a clear and unmistakable error. Air Force Girl. Is it legal? Oh my gosh. Okay, we're starting out strong, Air Force Girl. For the VA to use the intent to file I put in for the PACT Act on a claim that I have been continuously pursuing, not giving me the August. I don't know if legal's the right term. It might not be appropriate. It depends on the fact pattern of your evidence and where things lie. When you were diagnosed, how it was continuously pursued, how it was granted, right? Like if it wasn't granted for Tara and it was granted for something else, then, you might not get it. It also depends on if your intent to file was used by a different claim. There's a lot of moving parts here. Laz, if you ask for a claim withdrawal, the VA must send you an acknowledgement level. Yeah. Well, it's not that they must, they will. So typically, and I did a video on this thing where I said, hey, look, you should call in and you should submit something in writing to them that you wish to withdraw the claim. Now, if they've made a rating decision on anything associated with that claim, then there's a problem. Then, that you're not able to just cleanly withdraw. You would have to, at that point in time, if they made a rating decision on something, you'd have to either give up whatever decision they made, which if it was a denial, no big deal. But if they granted you something, you'd have to give up that grant and withdraw the whole claim. So go back and find my video on that and see. Bohini, Texas. If filing for IBS MUCME route, file with symptoms, not a diagnosis. Yeah, it's better to file with symptoms. You can have a diagnosis for IBS, but it's also good to file for symptoms. You have to show that you had 6 months of current symptoms and that there's no known cause to your condition. So that's why it's always good to file MUCME first if you qualify, because you don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. And the reason why I say to file it with symptoms, not a diagnosis, is because if you only have symptoms, that means you haven't really went to the doctor. That means that nobody has formatted an opinion on it yet. That means that nobody's done a lot of research on it and not a lot of diagnostic tests on it and whatnot to see if there's a cause to it. So it just gives you a higher likelihood, potentially, depending on your circumstances, of being able to have the doctor go, well, I don't know what's causing it, so I have to grant. Versus you've went and got it diagnosed and they've done all this stuff, and then the doctor gets to go, oh, well, I see here that you had this problem over here due to your so-and-so, and you've been taking a lot of NSAIDs due to these non-service connected conditions, and that could cause it, so I'm going to deny you because you have too much evidence to show that there's a different potential cause for it. She moves light. Is it a good idea to bring filled out DBQs to CMP exams to refer back to in the exams? If you're just filling it out to where this is what I thought, like, in the prior video, I talked about print out a DBQ for mental health and just go, these are my symptoms. And this is an example of my symptoms. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. You could just go, look, I've got memory problems. Like I do. I have bad memory problems sometimes, certain things. So it can't hurt you, but it's definitely not, it's not going to help you because the examiner is going to go, I'm the one that makes the decision here. Defender. I'm applying for SMC. Should I submit it like a supplemental claim? only if you've been denied for the SMC. If you're submitting for SMC, you should, and you've never claimed it before. So, like, let's say, hypothetically speaking, like you've been granted for erectile dysfunction, but you don't have SMCK. The way that I would do it is, if I've never been denied if it's never been denied before, I would do it like it's a new claim. And I would just say, I'm requesting SMC for erectile dysfunction granted on this date. If it's been denied before, if SMC has been denied before, then you would use a supplemental claim or a higher level review, depending on your preference and if you meet criteria. If it's a missed issue, like in my prior example of erectile dysfunction, you were granted, but they never gave you SMC, then the first choice is the better one of just filing it like it's a new claim it as a missed issue, and then that way, and just say, should have, like something nice, but I think I was supposed to be granted for erectile dysfunction on 2021, back in 2021, because SMCK should have been associated with it. I don't know. She moves light. Have any PFAS exposure claims for ulcerative colitis passed over your desk? No. I'm going to be honest with you. PFAS is something that sounds good on paper, but the VA has not taken it up yet. There's a lot of sites, even military bases, that have PFAS on it. That it takes a lot of convincing to convince the raters that PFAS. I mean, I'm more open to it because I'm like, sure, if you can show me that the base had PFAS on it and that you were at the base during the time in which the PFAS was, raging, fair enough. But ulcerative colitis, not so much. I haven't seen that association very often. Ulcerative colitis typically has different causes than, say, chemicals. So doctors primarily will go with a more mainstream medical rationale for it. That's more believable to them than, say, PFAS being the exclusive cause. John Hopper did my PTSD exam. First, the examiner said it was for an increase of my insomnia, then told me that my suicide attempt was going to be hard to connect since I actually didn't hurt myself. What do I do? Okay, well, if you're service connected for insomnia, then you're just doing an increase on insomnia. Diagnosis doesn't matter, symptoms matter. So, it's and all they have to do is say suicide attempt. They just have to check the box. Like, their supposition, their whole like personal belief system on something doesn't matter to me as long as they check the box. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they feel. I don't care what they believe in, as long as they check the box. And if they didn't check the box for the suicide attempt, then that's something that you would need to address, like in a higher level review potentially. Jason Blacken. Granted increase to 70% last year for PTSD. I mean, congrats and condolences at the same time. Up from 30% for my initial claim in 2011. I was also granted the ED. I now filed a supplemental claim for increase with TDIU. No, it can't. Could I get the... No. TDIU cannot go back that far. And what I'm assuming happened here is that, and I'm probably going to assume wrong, but I'm assuming that you're believing that TDIU should have been raised to issue at the time that you became eligible for TDIU, or back in that time period. I'm probably wrong on this assessment, but a rater doesn't have to raise TDIU to issue, and there's no functional way it could go back in time to 2011. There just isn't. Maybe on a CUNE if you had claimed it and, other things, but the fact pattern you gave me doesn't seem like it would be able to go back that far. Laz, does the diabetes have to be presumptive? I don't know what that's in reference to, but I'm going to say no. It does. Maybe not. Okay, and then I can't see this because of this share the screen thing that's in my way, but Kevin, always great content. ACE exam for musculoskeletal, having private DBQ, getting denial, service. Let me read it on this other screen. Okay. Getting denial with in-service diagnosis and complaints and getting heel pads for my flat feet diagnosis. Um, so they burned your private DBQ, and I assume that they got a different one in which the VA examiner disagreed. I don't know if that's the fact pattern on this, but if that's the case, what I always suggest that you do is I suggest that you would do a or maybe even a higher level review and say, "Hey, I need you to double check to make sure that my claim is insufficient or my DBQ is insufficient, my medical opinion was insufficient. And if so, could you please tell me why they were so I can go correct those insufficiencies and resubmit and get it granted?" Because that's the best thing that you can do because the DRO will have written out, when you talk to them in your informal conference and you say, "Hey, look, please tell me exactly what was lacking on that DBQ and private medical opinion, and I will fix it." And then let's say you redo a supplemental after having that conversation with the DRO. And let's say you fix everything that they say. You'll be able to reference that. Like if they deny you again, you would do another higher level review and go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, Haas, hold on. I talked to that DRO, and that DRO said that those things were wrong, and I fixed them. They're fixed, so that means that my thing is sufficient. Please grant me." And it takes a few claims to get that process, but what you're slowly trying to do is ratchet them down to ratchet the DRO to say something, to literally put in writing what is insufficient, so that way you can say, "I fixed it." And if they claim something else, then that's on them. And sorry for my dogs. My dogs are just over here just snoring. But anyway, that's Kevin. I hope that helped you. But that's about all I got on this video. I'm going to put this one, I'm going to schedule it for tomorrow before the live stream. But I got through all the live stream questions. So we did it, guys. Dogs, we did it. We got through all the questions on the live stream. And I'm going to try to do this. I'm just going to put these videos out. Like I said beforehand, I'm going to put them out with other videos. So you'll have these question and answer videos, but try to watch them because there is value added. Anyway, that's about all I've got for you today. So I'm going to take you out with sitting here with you has been amazing. We're going to do another Q&A tomorrow and it's going to be amazing. Have your questions ready. Get to the chopper. Do it. Do it now. Raider.